Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Teclis, the High Lore Master of Hoeth and Warden of the White Tower, takes to the field of battle as the High Elves clash against the Empire. Way will be commanding the High Elf forces, and Deathstick will have command of the Empire. And for the High Elf army, we have a front line of spearmen with one Silvern guard thrown into the mix, and we do have a Mage of Metal going to be bringing Plague of Rust, going to synergize with all of these archers in the rear, as they do have a pair of Lothran Sea Guards on both flanks. In the center is going to be 4 regular archers, going to be firing away, looking to kind of just wear down the opponent's forces. And we do have triple Illyrian Reavers in the rear for a bit of mobility. And of course, we do have Teclis on his Arcane Phoenix up in the sky, going to be bringing the Net of Anmantok, the Potion of Koroi, as well as the Bound Fiery Convocation. So he's just going to be flying overhead, netting things down, and allowing his archers to do the work. And when the time requires, that Plague of Rust can allow those archers to do all the bit more damage. Now, in response, the Empire has brought triple mortars to rain fire down upon the enemy with their explosive shots, and we do have a front line of spearmen mixed in with some swordsmen as well, a couple of handgunners as well to provide a little DPS, and we do have the silver bullets thrown into the mix as well with a little bit of magic damage in there. And we have a Jade Wizard going to be bringing Earthblood. Looks like we got Regrowth as well in there, and we have Flesh to Stone giving a nice 60 armor, so a little counter to that Plague of Rust. I don't know if that's necessarily a good use of that Winds of Magic, but it is an idea nonetheless. We have some Spearmen, some Halberdiers in the back, and we have Demigryph Knights with Halberds, providing a lot of the mobile stopping power. And as for Lords, we do have Karl Franz. He is actually going to be on foot today. You're not going to be seeing him up in the sky or anything like that. He is going to be bringing, it looks like I saw Reichling Runefang and Gal Maraz, going to be providing a little bit of melee attack and some nice bonus versus large and armor-piercing damage to those around him. So we'll see how things shake up as we do advance this game. And the mortar is going to start firing away. And with this map, they generally would have a nice little bit of low ground to prevent any shots from like a Eagle Claw bolt throwers to be firing in, but now the guns are going to be firing away, and Teclis going to be taking a ton of damage. But we're going to be seeing, it looks like, a net and a Bound Fiery Convocation coming in, as the net does go down on these handgunners, and here is that Bound Fiery Convocation going to go right on through this group of units here, and is just going to roast them and toast them. And away will go those handgunners, almost killing them outright, and they will most likely be routing. The rest of that cast kind of just goes off into nowhere as it is dodged in for the most part. But Silver Guard have taken quite a bit of damage so far from that mortar fire, and that handgunner unit just completely shatters off the cost. Going to be doing a lot of good work there. And that was just a regular net. We're not seeing any overcast here, although there were a few opportunities for an overcast may have been useful. But now the archer is going to be getting in range of the rest of the forces, and their arrows will be blotting out the sun as the shots do start raining in against the Empire forces. Going to be making quick work of all of the ranged units for the Empire, though Teclis himself has taken quite a bit of damage, and he doesn't have any regrowth, which you normally do see with him, especially being on that Arcane Phoenix. But instead, they're just going to be electing just for the nets and that Plague of Rust, and the shots already being able to rout off these units of handgunners, and the silver bullets will be soon to follow, as there is just an absolute focus fire from all of these archers, and these Demigryph Knights need to get to work very, very quickly if they want to have any kind of influence in this battle. Really need to get into that back line as quick as they can. But all the archers now going to be focusing their fire onto them, and I believe we have a net going down on these Demigryph Knights, going to be keeping those demis in place against these Lothran Sea Guard, and Teclis himself going to be assisting that engagement. Now, we do not see a Plague Rust on them just yet, though things are going quite well for the High Elves so far. The Plague of Rust is on the other side of the field, really trying to nuke down these Demigryph Knights, minus 60 armor with all those archers firing in. But that front line for the Empire is doing quite well, as they are able to pretty much break through all the spearmen. The Silvern Guard took so much damage on the approach, they were quickly pushed back, and the Demis going to be trying and breaking these spearmen just before they get into the mortars, and mortars are going to continue to fire in against the very very low armor, tightly packed high elves, and so far, as long as these mortars can continue to fire freely, they should be doing just fine. However, the archers should be in range, and those would be a nice little target for them to kind of poke their way into, as the rest of these demis trying to kind of pull back here, as the Illyrian Reaver archers starting to provide a little bit of pressure in it to that back line. We do have some halberdiers going to be supporting, and these demis trying to keep the spearmen at bay, but they do get broken, especially with all the focus shots continuing to rain in from these archers, and Teclis is still sitting pretty up in the sky. He is at half health, but there isn't really a whole lot left that can contend him. Most of the handgunner units have been taken off the picture, and those that are still around going to be getting quickly dealt with, as now the focus fire is starting to focus on those mortars, and we have another bound fiery convocation going to be going right on through, but the Empire going to be seeing that coming, going to push their way into these spearmen and going to dodge that shot. Nice heads up play by them. But the balance of power is turning ever so much in the High Elves' favor, especially now that most of the mobility is gone for the Empire. There isn't really a whole lot that they can do, as the High Elves are just going to be able to allow all their archers to continue firing in, and with this surround by the Illyrian Reaver archers, that is going to be probably game, set, and match, as all of their damage output is going to be gone, and is just down to Karl Franz left, and he is not going to be able to be beaten Teclis up on his Arcane Phoenix. A very odd pick seeing Karl Franz up down on foot. He is going to be trying to run around, trying to do as much damage as he can, but he is just going to be dragged across the map here at this point. And Teclis should be able to get in, especially with that Mage of Metal and all these archers. All the archers got to do is do a nice little fan out, keep Karl Franz bouncing between them, and they should be able to focus him down fairly quickly. Some of the mortar crew are returning, but they aren't going to be able to make it back to their artillery crew before these archers do pin them down, especially with the roaming Illyrian Reavers now in the rear, going to be making sure everything stays off the field. The Jade Wizard itself going to be chased off, and that is going to be our match. Teclis now, all he's got to do is find where Karl is and make sure that he takes enough damage, and army losses will be soon to follow. Don't really see a whole lot left. The only thing that maybe the Empire could do at this point is if the High Elves suicided Teclis into him and then just stop firing at this point, because Karl Franz, if he was on his Griffin, he might have a chance to be able to kind of get some shots in, but he's going to get a overcasted Plague of Rust on a net as well. And now all the archers from across the map going to be focusing him down, and he's going to be taking quite a bit of damage from all of these shots, and that will be all she wrote. Army losses do trigger, and the High Elves do take the fight. I'll take a look at the after battle report. Mass archers definitely doing well for the High Elves today. Take a little look at what we've got is quite a decent amount of value across the board. Some of these Lothards doing quite well indeed, and the archers themselves able to really punish a lot of the units, pretty much making all these handgunners, even the mortar crews, pretty much obsolete, as they just got lit up by the archers. A little bit of primitive technology going well for the Empire, or going well for the High Elves here. So spearmen, of course, actually one of the spearmen surprisingly got 1600 in value, and these Silvern were the ones that got shot by mortars on the way in. And if we look over at the Empire side, the Demigryph Knights didn't do a whole lot. They got netted down quite a bit. The control on the High Elf side was quite good, and the mortars themselves just not quite enough stuff to keep them firing. I think that with this Empire army, especially with Karl Franz on foot, if you take a little look at his stats as well, didn't really do a whole lot. He kind of needs to be on his Griffin if you're going to be taking him, especially if you're going to bring in Jade Wizard. Jade Wizard, especially when the Demis got taken out so early, didn't have anything to really cast any of its healing on. And generally the Jade Wizard pairs very well with Karl Franz on his Griffin, getting some regrowths, get plenty of targets to get that healing up and running. And then the Illyrian Reaver as well. Teclis didn't get a whole lot of value, but of course it was pretty healthy at the end. Had probably a lot of winds magic, and he was there pretty much just for the nets. And if that is his use, it is a good argument to have him on his horse instead, save a bit of funds. However, the threat by doing that is, of course, if Karl is on his Griffin, that is a dangerous threat to Teclis, as he isn't really able to contend that. So that's pretty much why you do bring Teclis in. But Having a regrowth, I think, would have been nice as well. Maybe drop the Silverin down to a Spearman unit, and you should have enough funds to do that. And then Empire probably need a bit more on the mobility side. Bring in either some Empire Knights to help get into that backline, Pistoliers, Outriders, and the like. Probably a little too heavy on the mortars because they weren't really able to defend everything, especially with all of that archer fire quickly making quick work of all of the state troops and ranged units. Otherwise, it was a nice fun match, but that's all I have for you today. I do hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good one.